Welcome to our latest adventure. Today we explore further Hildebrand adventures from Heavensward, Part 2.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Eorzean Archons. I'm FaZe.
And I'm Catherine.
This video will cover the further Hildebrand Adventures quest through If I Could Turn Back Time.
There will be no spoilers in this video after the Heavensward expansion.
Remember to subscribe and click the bell icon if you'd like to be notified of future videos.
Let's get started.
I wonder if Seer is right and Gigi is somehow evil.
What if he suddenly transforms into a Dalek and attacks us?
If only we could go back in time to learn who Gigi was before he lost his memory.
Hey FaZe, what's that over there?
Oh, I've seen one of these before somewhere. I think it's some sort of time machine.
It doesn't seem to work. Maybe we should just head out and check in with Seer.
Not what I was hoping for, but looks like we're off on another adventure. Seer does need our assistance again, it would seem. Rumor has it the esteemed knights of the Heavens Ward that we definitely killed have been seen around Ishgard walking the streets. He wants us to get to the bottom of this mystery, but needs all the help he can get, and maybe a bit of a certain individual's serendipity. Besides, if we don't bring Hildebrand with us now, he'll probably just show up at the worst time. Plus, we have to keep an eye on the boy. I mean Mehmet.
We head out to Fortemps Manor and find Hildebrand, Nashu, and Gigi chatting in the gazebo. Apparently they're teaching Gigi what is and isn't gentlemanly. Upon our arrival, Hildebrand greets us and explains that Gigi attempted to deface the gazebo. Gigi cries out that it isn't true. He was trying to draw a family crest on it, for it is their home. He just wants a home of his own with his new papa and mama, but Hildebrand tries to explain that inspectors travel the world. The world is their oyster. Steering the conversation back on track, Seer gives Hildebrand the details of the new case involving the fake knights.
These supposed knights of the Heavens Ward are tricking hapless maidens into attending private parties for a small fee to hang out with them. Seer tried questioning the maidens afterwards, but they were too traumatized to give any details. Hildebrand readily accepts as he claims to be well versed in the ways of the fairer sex. Here to contradict him is his very own mother, Julian. She's had enough of his nonsense and is here to take him home. Hildebrand of course refuses. He's an investigator and must save these poor women. He runs off to prove himself to his mother, who then turns to us, demanding we keep her son out of trouble. What's new?
We go around questioning maidens involved in the incident. These fangirls of the Dead Knights are very distraught at being fooled by the imposters. We take our lack of findings over to Hildebrand, who's occupied telling Gigi to never call Julian a grandmother again. Speaking of, Julian stops by along with Seer and Nashu. We inform Hildebrand that we haven't learned any new information. Undeterred by his mother's disappointment, Hildebrand approaches an older woman who it appears was also deceived by the fake knights. She had reported them, but when she returned with a watch, they were gone. However, the neighbors overheard that they were going to seek shelter in Idleshire. With a new lead, we're off, for justice waits for no gentleman.
With Julian fending off enemies with her frying pan, we arrive safely in Idleshire. Hildebrand suggests we split up and search for clues. We question the local residents who have all seen the Grand Sirs and tell us exactly where we can find them. We inform Hildebrand, who gathers everyone together as we approach the building. It would appear no one is home though, so we decide to wait. Suddenly, Slowfix appears and greets Hildebrand as an old friend. Long ago, Hildebrand helped Slowfix get back some stolen goods with his usual dumb luck. Feeling indebted now, Slowfix wishes to help Hildebrand in any way he can.
Since Gigi is fond of Idleshire, Hildebrand asks Slowfix if there are any gazebos he and his makeshift family could call home. Why not an estate though? Slowfix suggests that he take the building we stand in front of. I guess the current residents haven't been paying their rent anyways. Unable to deny his son Gigi what he wants, Hildebrand thanks Slowfix for their new home. Gigi wishes to paint their family crest on the front, so Hildebrand and Nashu go and buy some paint. When they come back with the paint, we all keep a lookout for the Grand Sirs while Gigi paints their strange crest. He finishes the crest, but the Grand Sirs have not arrived.
Hildebrand's getting tired and would like to take a break, but Nashu points out some very shady and suspicious people standing close by and staring at us. They're obviously the Grand Sirs we're looking for, but Hildebrand thinks they're just shy, adoring fans of his. Seer says what the rest of us are thinking and points out that they're getting away!
We give chase and pass a tired Gigi on the way, cornering the Grand Sirs outside Idleshire. Hildebrand demands that they come forth and answer for their misdeeds. In comes two old men dressed like the Knights of the Heavens Ward. In a very dramatic fashion, the Dragoon declares that he is Orland and the White Mage is Gonspart. They take their battle stances ready to fight us. Hildebrand states their crimes and asks them to surrender themselves.
Somehow able to channel a limit break in a party of two, Orlan begins to execute a dragon song dive, soaring high into the air. High in the sky and the mind, apparently. Orlan thinks he sees his beloved Pigsney and attempts to fly even higher to meet her. Soaring too high, he falls back down to the earth and lands head first in the ground. Presumed dead, Hildebrand and Nashu offer their condolences and lay flowers at the grave.
Weird, I thought all dragoons land on their feet after a dive.
Maybe that's just unique to you, Cat.
Meow.
Seer points out that he's seen this sort of thing before, and Orlan is probably only mostly dead. He encourages Ganspart to save his friend, who looks around very confused. Ganspart finally begins slow-resing Orlan in a very odd incantation. It somehow works, though, as Orlan's legs begin to flail and he pops out of the hole. Suddenly, a voice behind us demands we stop if we care what happens to the mammoth. Gigi? We turn around to see Gigi trapped in a cage and an old woman black mage standing before us. Ah! She's the old woman who pointed us towards Idyllshire in the first place and told us what building to find the knights in. She transforms into her knightly attire, giving a similar dramatic introduction. Her name is Doris.
She declares that we have fallen for their trap. All of the parties and petty schemes were all in preparation for this moment. They wanted to lure us out here and kidnap Gigi. Apparently they don't wish to harm Gigi, but want him to restore their youth. She throws a smoke bomb at us to make their escape. Let me rephrase that. To make their very slow escape. As the smoke clears, we see the trio hobbling away, just in front of us. Gigi calls out for his papa, who in turn promises that he will find him.
Hildebrand laments that his focus on the case caused Gigi to be kidnapped. Will he ever see his son again? Enough of this nonsense. They couldn't have gotten that far. Julian takes the lead as we chase after them. Hiding behind a bush, we spot them taking a break already.
Imagine being old like that and still adventuring. My back would be aching too.
Impossible. We're too important to grow old.
True. It seems like only a year ago we were getting our first chocobo.
Just call me Ash Ketchum.
As we survey our options, Seer spies an opportunity to take the Dragoon hostage and demand an exchange. How ungentlemanly, Seer. Hildebrand would never stoop so low as to take someone hostage. Instead, he suggests that we subdue the Grandsir and strip him of his armor. Taking the clear hint that Hildebrand wants us to do the job, we sneak over to where Orlan split from the group. We sneak up on him, but he quickly recovers from his surprise, and at seeing us, he asks we massage his aching back. Oh no, not again. Faze, you ever wonder how we always end up here?
Oh, for sure. Why do we help Hildebrand with these ridiculous quests, risking our own sanity and traveling all over to solve a case that we never understand until the end?
No, I mean giving massages to weird old guys.
Oh, you mean that. Yeah, I wish we could say no to this.
Well, at least it's a convenient way to strip him of his gear and leave him resting in the shade. As he dozes off in the grass, we take his gear back to Hildebrand.
Hildebrand takes Orlan's armor and disguises himself as a Knight of the Round. I sure hope Hildebrand's acting is on point because he looks nothing like Orland. And, oh, he's flexing on them. Great. Looks like we need an obscene amount of luck now. And luck would have it that Doris is as blind as a bat. Hildebrand talks his way through letting Gigi out of the cage and allowing his son to walk with him into the wilderness for literally no reason.
As he makes his unbelievable escape, he bumps into Orland. The real Orland. He sees Hildebrand in his armor, thinking that his life is somehow flashing before his eyes. In the confusion, Doris walks up to take a better look at the two. Deciding the imposter is Orland, she slaps him across the face. Now's our chance to run. As Gigi and Hildebrand make a run for it, Doris realizes her mistake.
She calls out to Vivi, stopping Gigi in his tracks. She claims our Gigi is really Vivi, a creation of the great Sharlayan Archmagus Quan. This accusation sparks Gigi's memory, and he confirms this to be true. Vivi was a mammoth created by Quan to turn back the hands of time and bring everlasting youth to his creator. Vivi was seen as flawed, though, as he failed to do so and was cast out. Quan has since died of old age.
Seer isn't sure whether or not this plan to use Gigi to stay young counts as heresy, but Doris believes Vivi can bring Quan back to life, which technically falls under necromancy. Gigi apologizes to his papa Hildy, but he explains how Quan created him and he has to try to revive him. He misses his grandpapa Quan. A sad silence fills the space as we watch the Grandsirs and Gigi walk away.
Hildebrand initially accepts Gigi's choice, but after some consideration, he can't accept the unrighteous path Gigi walks. Only zombification methods are allowed in the Monderville household. We need to save Gigi and remind him of the Monderville mammoth he's become, and for that, we need a plan. We'll head with Seer to Ishgard and research what we can about the origins of Vivi, while Hildebrand and Nashu go to their gazebo and do whatever it is they do in between these quests.
Back in Ishgard, Seer has found some forbidden information on temporal magics that may prove useful. Some texts speak of Allag in a positive light and exalt the work of temporal magic for use of stasis and time manipulation. Seer's theory for these studies is that if time were reverted on an object, that original object would not be restored, but instead a copy of it is restored at a previous point in time. Case in point, you cannot resurrect a soul, you would only create a husk of a person detached from the original host.
We decide it best to regroup with Hildebrand and search out any information we can on Quan's studies in hopes of convincing Gigi to stop this hopeless revival. But before we can leave, a colleague of Seer's comes in and accuses him of heresy for taking a book from the restricted section. Without holding back, Seer yells at the man, saying he's done accusing everyone and their wife of heresy. The whole organization is foolish business. Glad to see Seer stand on his own 2 feet for once.
Back over at the Manderville gazebo in Idleshire, we find Nashu and Julian, but no Hildebrand. They say he caught wind of the Grand Sir's path and found out that they were traveling through the Javanian Forelands. If they injure any of Hraesvelgur's brood, Gigi could get hurt. No wonder Hildebrand ran off after them. I suppose we should check in on them while Seer snoops around Quan's old home for more information on Gigi's past.
Over in the town of Tailfeather, we ask the locals if they've seen any Dragon Knight cosplayers. They tell us that 3 old geezers and a mammoth were headed for Anix Shrine to, quote, kill the big one. We've got the trail. Let's go before Hildebrand catches them and does something stupid. As we chase after the Grand Sirs, we find Orlin buried in the ground, same as before. We yank him free to ask him where Gigi is, but turns out it's just Hildebrand, still in Orlin's armor.
Seer joins us with Godbert in tow, who learned of our troubles with the Grand Sirs after talking with Lord Edmund. Right on cue, Hildebrand awakes from his nap and tells us that he was merely hiding from the newly youthful Grand Sirs. Wait, are you saying they've already succeeded in becoming young again? Hildebrand tells us that Gigi's eyes were a little more pointy than he remembered. Seer warns us that according to Quan's notes, that's a sign he's used up too much magic and is almost out of Aether. We have to find him fast or he'll become a husk. Hildebrand says that the Grand Sirs have headed to Zenith in the Churning Mist to kill the great worm Nidhogg. Hildebrand, we kind of already... Oh yes, Hildebrand means Hraesvelgur.
As we arrive in Zenith, Hildebrand warns us that the final confrontation with the Grand Sirs is ahead. However, he's still feeling a little beat up from earlier, so Hildebrand asks us to rub some salamander oil on his muscles. You can't be serious. For the sake of Gigi, we muster the awkwardness and assist Hildebrand. However, it does little to help this time. Instead, Godbert gives us a special salamanderville oil to rub in. With the oil healing Hildebrand right up, we embark on our search for the Grand Sirs.
In an epic fashion, we find our targets, except this time the Grand Sirs are a lot younger looking. Gigi has restored their youth, and right on cue, our mammoth reveals himself, pointy eyes and all. Hildebrand asks for his son to be returned, but is only met with ramblings of how the Grand Sirs are going to use their newly acquired youth to kill Hraesvelgur and feast on his eyes. What creeps. Our opposition to their plan forces them to combine in strength and all-out assault only Hildebrand in a swirling vortex. Hildebrand somehow endures a barrage of attacks, ending in a limit break. When the wind settles, Hildebrand is left on the floor, clothes tattered.
But he isn't done yet. Hildebrand gets up, much to the Grand Sir's surprise, and asks Gigi not to look at him with such pointy eyes and return home with him to the family gazebo. Yet Gigi doesn't wish to return home. He needs the worm's eyes to bring back Quan. Seer tries to talk him down, explaining how Quan's soul cannot be restored. He's too far gone, but Gigi won't listen.
In his outburst, he tries to restore Hildebrand's clothes to normal with his remaining magic, but they have no effect. Hildebrand explains how his clothes are always beat up anyways, with all the investigating and wandering that he does. Seer explains that based on Quan's notes, Gigi doesn't restore things back to the way they used to be, but rather he restores them to the way Gigi believes is right. Maybe this battered and bruised form is, in its own way, right to Gigi.
This definition would explain why Gigi couldn't save Quan from growing too old. Seer explains how Quan's notes tell not a story of abandonment, but one of freedom. Quan wrote of how he realized Gigi failed to make him younger because he only knew of him as an elder, and that felt right to Gigi. The only way for Quan to become younger would be to erase Gigi's memory so he wouldn't think fondly of him as he does now. But in the end, Gigi was like family to Quan, so he decided to remain as he was and grow old. Before he died, Quan erased his Mammoth grandson's memory so that Gigi wouldn't turn back time any longer and would be able to find his own way in the world long after Quan was gone.
As touching as this realization is, we still have the Grandsires to deal with. They've had enough of us, so they spring the trap initially set for Ray's Velgar. 2 towers come crashing down in our direction. Without time to react, we brace for the impact. However, the Manderville Mammoth isn't ready to say goodbye to his friends and family. With a stunning display of rewind magic, Gigi returns everything around him back to the way things should be. The pillars are unbroken, the Grandsires return to their usual old selves, Godbert is half naked again, Julian is enraged, and Hildebrand is still all beat up looking.
Sadly, it seems that Gigi has run out of Aether with that last big rewind. Seer hides him away as we all come to realize what just happened. When Hildebrand gets up and asks where Gigi is, Seer tells him that Gigi is out on another adventure already. That's okay. Hildebrand has his own adventuring to do. Perhaps their paths will cross again one day. Hildebrand's parents tell him what a good father figure he was to Gigi, and that they're proud of the man he's become. In response, Hildebrand mentions how he's proud of how graceful his mother is coming to terms with the ephemeral nature of physical beauty as she ages. Oh, when will you learn? One pan swing later and he's gone, this time smelling a case off to the far east.
As for the cleanup, Godbert believes Gigi will live once more, once his core absorbs enough ambient aether. He offers to take Gigi in for now, and also brings the Grandsires back to Ishgard to answer for their crimes. Since Seer can't go back to Ishgard after being exiled, he decides to look after the Manderville gazebo in Idleshire. After we all head our separate ways, we decide to check back in with Seer and see how he's doing. Seer is glad to have left the Inquisition and plans to work as an investigator based out of Idleshire. He also has a little surprise for us. Godbert apparently remade Gigi into a smaller mammoth model to help speed up the aether absorption process. Looks like we'll have a travel buddy for our future adventures, wherever they may lead. I feel bad that Seer can't go back to Ishgard, but at least he seems happier now in his new home. I wonder if he would do it all the same if he started over.
Speaking of, look, it's the time machine from before over there.
What do you mean? It didn't even work last time.
Maybe the time travel controls are on the inside. Let's go in and check it out.
Wow, it's so much bigger on the inside. Look, those might be the controls over there.
Stand back, cat. I'm the doctor here. Hey, I wonder what this button does.
Phase, what did you do?
Be sure to thumbs up and hit the subscribe button down below. Click the bell to be notified of future videos.
What did you enjoy or not enjoy about the Hildebrand Agent of Inquiry quests? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching!